Hello everyone, my name is Auro and it's about time I told you what I'm currently working on. So around 2 months ago I released my second game, Chambers of Devious Design, and while it probably would have been smart to take a longer break after the release, I I just couldn't help myself, so I think it was something like a week after the release, I started working on my third game. I had keeping the idea a secret until now, but yeah, it's about time I show it to you. So, without further ado, my idea is hiding behind this black box over here. So let's see what is underneath it. Dun 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 dun. Dun. So yes, the idea is a sequel to my first game, Mortal Glory. When I started thinking about my third game, I had several different ideas in mind. I mean, I have my ideas document that has something like 100 different ideas, but out of those I had something like maybe 5 that I felt like could be a nice project at this point. But it didn't actually take me too long to settle on Mortal Glory 2. I chose the idea mostly for 2 reasons. The first one being that based on all the comments and reviews of the first game, I knew that people want more Mortal Glory in their lives, and luckily I have a bunch of cool ideas in mind how to further improve the concept and different features to add to the game. When I released the game, I was pretty burnt out with the idea. I mean, I just wanted to move on to the next project, but now that it has been almost 3 years after the release of the game, I felt like it was a right time to get back to the idea. And the second reason for picking this idea is kind of business related, in the sense that at the current point of my life and my business, I felt like I had to pick a less risky idea. I mean, if you have watched my previous videos, you know that my previous game, Chambers of Devious Design, didn't do quite as well as I had hoped. I mean, not a total catastrophe, but yeah, not really worth all the effort that went into it. And while I had some cool ideas in mind that I think would have done well, I know that the idea behind Mortal Glory works and it has a decent sized audience from day one. So while it by no means is guaranteed that the game will do well, I do think it has a higher likelihood of doing well compared to a completely new idea. I felt like it was the best idea to choose for my business and for myself at this point in time. So, what are my plans for the game? Well, first of all, the core of the game, the battle itself, I'm planning on keeping that fairly similar to the first game. The players clearly enjoy the core gameplay loop, so I'm not going to mess too much with that, but I'm also not going to keep the combat exactly the same. I mean, I have a bunch of new feature ideas to add more variety to the combat. I'm going to give the players new tools to play around with, so there will be new, different ways to excel in combat and beat the game. I'm also going to throw some new things at the players, some new challenges to beat and more decisions to make in the game. At the same time, I want to simplify some things so they aren't like unnecessarily convoluting the game. Simplifying is not something I want to go overboard with, not to make it a super casual game or anything, but I think the main idea behind that point is that if there are decisions that I think are not very fun to make and don't really have an impact in the game, I would just rather remove them from the game. Then I also want to add this, I would say, highlight moments to the game, kind of this emotional peaks that you achieve something and the game will actually congratulate you about it. I mean, I don't have any like super concrete examples in mind at this point, but that's something that I will also strive for. And lastly, I think the biggest changes will be to the actual like game mode itself. I mean, the combat will stay fairly similar, but the gameplay outside of the combat, that I think I will completely change. In the first one, at least with the default game mode, it was basically like, okay, you have a battle, then you have an event, then you go to town to buy some equipment, and then it just repeats over and over again. So I want to break that up a bit, maybe at least have them in different order. I don't know the like exact details at this point yet, but yeah, that's also one major thing I will touch upon. So yeah, those are the major things that at least at this point came to my mind that I want to change or adjust or work on in the sequel. And all of this I'm hoping I could achieve in around 9 months. I mean, it would be cool if the project only took something like 6 months, so it would be ready March of next year, but I don't think that's very realistic. So I think 6 months would maybe be the realistic target. That's kind of what I'm aiming for, so it would be ready June of next year. But I mean, making estimations is always a bit tricky. I have learned that I'm not really good at them yet, so I'm hoping the like final target would be a year-long project, so September of next year it would be ready. But yeah, I'm still keeping my hopes up for the June. I'm hoping I could participate to the next fest of June next year and then release it shortly after that. But yeah, I mean, let's see. It's not a good sign that my scope is kind of like not fully set. I have a bunch of features in mind that I want to add to the game, and yeah, it might take longer than expected, so yeah, let's see. Oh, and in case you're wondering like how can it take that long? Just take your first game, add a few things, and then that's 2 weeks and done. Yeah, not quite. And one reason for that is that I'm actually building this game from scratch. I mean, design-wise I can copy and paste some of the things, and also on the code side there might be some things I can copy and paste, but other than that it's a clean table I'm working from. So why am I doing that? Why not utilize all the work I put into the first game? Well, I think the main issue is that the code is not very good. I mean, it was my first game and there are a kind of like a bunch of foundational things that I didn't do really well. I mean, they work nicely for the first game, but now if I want to build on top of that, I mean, I figured it would be a pain to make adjustments, and I think I would completely have to rework some like building blocks to actually enable some new features to be added. This wasn't really an easy choice by any means. I mean, I wanted to be smart and utilize what I have, but I figured that in the end it would be really frustrating to try to adjust the code base of the first game, and I figured that it would also take a bunch of time to actually like understand how the logic works in the first game, kind of like get back into the beginner mindset 3 years ago or something like that. So yeah, it wasn't an easy choice, and I don't know if it was the right choice to start from the clean plate, but that's what I chose, and actually I'm already 2 months into the development, so yeah, at this point I think it was the right choice, but there definitely have been many of these moments when I have been like kind of like doing the same exact thing I did in the first game, not even changing anything because I couldn't come up with a better choice, and kind of like, yeah, doing the same stuff exactly the same it has been kind of tedious at times doing that, but at the same time some of the like core blocks are now better, so I'm happy with that, and it's much more enjoyable to work with those like better defined and better coded core building blocks than just like the mess I had in the first game. And lucky for you, since I'm starting from clean table, I think it will also make these devlogs more interesting. So I think I will keep the same format I had with my last game at the end phases. Kind of like these relaxed devlogs where I babble and ramble on about the game and what I did, and yeah, show on the screen what I have done in the last weeks. So currently, as I said, I'm about 2 months into development, so obviously I'm a bit ahead on what you will see in the beginning, but I will try to kind of like ramp up the speed of the devlog so at maybe 2 months into the future, so it will catch up to where I currently am, and yeah, let's see where I go from that. But hey, I think that's everything I want to say in this first devlog. In the next one I will already start working on the actual game, working on the basic features like movement and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully you're interested in that. But yeah, nothing more to ramble on in this video, so let me know what you think about the idea, if you think it was the right choice and all that stuff. Alright, but hey, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.